Causation. Causation gets talked about in every single class. I don't understand why we have to talk about it all the time. So, I'm not going to really talk about common law. I guess I will. So, both common law and the MPC apply but-for causation plus a second kind of causation. Each applies a different second kind. What is but-for causation? If you didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened. Or if you didn't fail to do this in the case of an omission, this wouldn't happen. So, what is a but-for cause? Everything. It's the butterfly effect, right? Obviously, that would mean you could charge, the person who gave birth to Lee Harvey Oswald with the death of JFK. No, that's too tenuous. And both of our, MPC and common law have ways of making sure that doesn't happen. But technically, yes, they are the but-for cause. They are a but-for cause. You can have joint but-for causes. There can be multiple but-for causes. There can be 100 but-for causes. So, but generally, you're going to want the most specific ones. And that's going to be called proximate causation under the common law. Basically, it needs to have actually been closely related. It can't just have been one of the million but-for factors. It needs to have actually been closely related to the crime itself. There's a more specific test, but again, it's common law. I don't much care about it. I don't much care about common law. Not on the exam. So, but under the MPC, there we go. Under the MPC, the second kind of causation is just called casual causation. Can't be too tenuous, right? And this is basically just a jury question. If it's not raised, it's not raised, and I don't imagine it gets brought up. But say someone goes, wait a minute. Yeah, sure. He was on our medicine when he died. But, I mean, that is the guy who shot him over there. Yeah, just because our medicine had a side effect of, slightly increasing your blood flow, there's no real connection here. That's a terrible example, but that's off the top of my head. I realized I was meant to be pulling up a study guide after this to explain any holes I missed for the last few, but I'll check real quick and see if there's anything big I missed on the last few before I jump into this one. Actually, no. I didn't divide the mens reas into conduct, result, and attendant circumstances, but I don't feel a need to. Other than that, mistake in law and mistake of thing I got, and actus rea, really, really easy. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention reflexes, but that's like I said. All right, but for causation, so too remote or accidental from the result that the defendant was intending or risking. So that's the actual, that's the causal connection. It has to be a reasonably foreseeable result. An independent intervening clause breaks the chain of causation. What's an independent? It's a clause that's not related to your actions. So if I shoot a guy and then he goes to the hospital and the doctor, treats him poorly, that's both foreseeable and it's a dependent intervening clause. Somebody else did surgery on him, but only because I shot him. Now let's say I shoot a guy and then I call an ambulance for him and he's going to the hospital and everything's going to be okay, and then a plane hits the hospital. Yeah, in theory, I could have been responsible for the fact that he didn't get to the hospital and needed to go to the hospital at all. But it seems like the plane hitting really wasn't my fault, and there's kind of a reasonable assumption that he's going to get to the hospital, eventually. So you can take that as you will. That example is not great, as many of them are not. I try to get close to borderline examples and say, it can go either way. So this is a borderline example of wouldn't meet the test. And then real quick, there is a quick test here. Did the actor have the requisite mode of culpability regarding the actual result, i.e. mens rea? And then, if not, can they still be said to have caused the actual results? And obviously, again, you still need mens rea, so I don't really know what this, I need to read this, because I've never heard of this before. Oops, pulled up the wrong study guide, I think. Either way, yes, independent intervening clauses break the chain of causation. What's independent is kind of up to you and up to your professor. I don't imagine many questions are going to be asked about this, but it'll be plain, right? If it's dependent or independent. If it's independent, it's going to be like wild, and out there going to go, what the heck? If it's dependent, it's like, yeah, that tracks, right? That cuts, as I tend to say. It's my My version of that makes sense. All right, that's pretty much it for causation. Causation isn't super complicated.